There we go. Now we've got sound because I need to turn the microphone on. Sorry about that,
That always
guys.
helps.
Oops. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Critical Conversations, the show where I get to talk to you, you get to talk to us, etc. Anyway, welcome to the show. I love technical difficulties. All right. Speak up. Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, there you are. There we go, guys. Sorry about that. All right, so the call-in line is 984-214-4154. Feel free to call in. We actually have somebody in the queue right now who we're going to get to in a moment. I just wanted to, Jocko Willick. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's ex, it's like Special Forces SEAL guy and big guy. And he put out the greatest video. I think it was yesterday or today about to everybody, just reminding all of us that we're all human, we're all people, and we really should, in these times, these very stressful, anxious times when we are at each other's throats in a lot of different ways. You should be going out, you shouldn't be going out, you're a racist, you're not a racist. We need, this, we need that, we need the other thing. I mean, there's a lot of stress out there right now. Totally understood. We're certainly feeling some of that. Mm-hmm. And it's good to remember sometimes to just, and he tells this great story in the video. I guess I should have linked to it, but anyway, yeah. So that's a thing. So we got 2 calls in the queue, and since this is a call-in show, and we're going to get right to it.
Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to remark on before we got into that?
No, I mean, I totally agree. We have to remember that both sides are just people, and not that, they're not doing bad things on both sides, but we are all just people, and if we could realize that, it might help things go smoother.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, in the queue.
Yeah, exactly. A couple coming in there. All right, well, let's get to this first one. All right. Hello.
Yes, it's Mark. Mark, I watched some of these Scientology propaganda. One of them is, the anti-drug, and I think Scientology is pretty stupid that they can put the drug industry out of business. It's $160 million a year business, and so I think they're totally delusional. They're going to put these companies out of business.
Yeah, they kind of are. Yes, that is pretty delusional.
And the Scabbage, the people are talking about him. I don't think he has any life skills. I doubt it. I doubt if he knows how to heat up a can of soup. Seems like he hates people, but yet he's dependent on them for his every need.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. He's thank you for those super chats out there, guys. So
I got a quick. Now, what's Patreon? What's Patreon?
Oh, Patreon is a website that you can go to sign up under me, patreon.com/Chris Shelton, and help support my channel. That's what Patreon is.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got the computer skills of a grapefruit.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for calling.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Saying you have an echo back of your own voice.
Back of my own voice. Oh, that was because of the phone call. Yeah, it was the feedback from him. I was about to ask him to reduce the volume in the back, but it was such a quick call that we just wrapped it up. But yeah, when you call in, please do reduce the volume in the background if you're watching this on YouTube, because once we're talking on the phone, we'll be having direct, conversation. All right. Somebody wants to talk to me about defending the police. Let's go for it here. Hello, caller.
Hey, good afternoon or good evening, guys. How are you?
Hey, we're good. How are you today?
Well, we're doing super over here. Good,
excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What's up?
Okay, so I just, I'm curious, and I haven't had a conversation with anybody about this because, I think it's kind of ridiculous, but I was honest, you have very strong opinions about a lot of things, and I haven't heard you speak about this. So I was curious to get your thoughts on what you think of this whole defunding the police debate.
Yeah, the debate on that. I have a couple things. I don't like the wording of the hashtag defund the police because that means a very specific thing, and I wish that reform the police, demilitarize the police, de-escalate the police. I wish words like that, which pretty much are meaning the same thing as what I think a lot of people are getting behind with that mean. Defund means take all the money away from. So I'm not really down with that, but I definitely want huge bottom to top reform of the police. And if that includes dispersing their functions through some other social functions or civil functions, and other civil servants or other professionals pick up other parts of the job that they shouldn't particularly have, I'm okay with that. I want effective.
To interrupt, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so if somebody else intervenes, how do you feel if the government, so if the federal people, instead of, we take it away from the states and the municipalities and, they federalize it?
Oh, I don't want federal police force. Ooh, no, I'm not particularly pushing for that.
Right.
I think that we do need federal level reform of certain aspects of policing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I want uniform standards on certain things,
I mean, look, I've had quite a few. I'm an older adult, and I'm pushing 40 this year, and I've had a few, 4 or 5 interactions with the police in my lifetime, and none of them were good, and in none of those cases did I do anything wrong.
Oh, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
It's not like I haven't been pulled over a few times or, had my own run-ins with them. Nothing, of course, abusive, but I get where that abuse comes from, and I've certainly commented on it many times.
Even I think even in the three of us, you said you've been pulled over. Was it a fun interaction? Was he nice? I mean, does that really even happen? I think most normal adults, they're just, it's not a nice experience. And really, it kind of should be. They're already taking your money or doing whatever they're doing to most normal people in their interactions, and yet they do. I think they, on a whole, throughout the country, police treat people like shit.
And you're right.
Excuse my language.
No, you're right, man. And let me say that I think a reason why I think there's a couple things to say about that. Okay, I think pro and against. So is it okay if I do that?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So pro, absolutely. We have a problem with relations with police. Definitely.
Yeah,
right.
We need to realize we're all part of the same community and stop that.
Yeah. This
I'm
sort
better
of,
than you.
That's right. That's right.
They do. We go to the same gyms and eat at the same Bob Evans or whatever it is.
Exactly.
These guys are normal people.
That's right.
And I think us normal people realize they have a job, but we kind of let them get away with being assholes.
Well, we do. And let me give you the other side of it just to throw it out there, okay? And I know I'm not trying to give them a pass, but I am trying to understand the behavior. And I hope there's a clear differentiation there, right? Because if we understand it, then we know what to do to fix it.
Right.
One of the problems is that these are people who see a great deal more bad things on a daily basis than they see good things. And some of the things they see are seriously disturbing things. And that could happen to them randomly any time of the day, any day of the week. And that's their job, right? They got to deal with that. And sometimes, because they're humans, right, that bleeds over into their encounters with us non-criminal types, and it's ugly and it's horrible, and it shouldn't be that way. And I pointed it out because I'm just showing that it's not that they're evil or bad or trying to beat up on people. They get a little traumatized in the normal course of their job. I mean, does that make sense at all?
No, I agree with you 100%.
Cool.
They are normal people, and I know police officers and servicemen too that the same type of stuff kind of happens to. When they get that kind of authority mentality where what I say goes type shit.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I totally agree.
And also another aspect of that, and probably I think one of the keys to changing this entire situation is their training, is addressing how they are trained, right? because they can be trained in a way that everybody they encounter is a potential enemy and a threat, and they have to treat them as such, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Right? And I know that some of their training is in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, next week I'm going to be doing a whole live stream with a friend of mine who knows about this stuff. So that's so I think the training is crucial on this, and I've got all kinds of ideas about that, including psychological assessments.
Number one is accountability.
Oh, yeah.
Training nothing. These guys know right from wrong. Okay, you can't train right from wrong. And to some of these things, and you can see it. Look, do a YouTube search of cop does something bad, and you're going to find lots of it, right?
Well, no, you do, and I think the basis of that though is psychological evaluation, proper vetting in the first place, so we're not letting people who have bad temperaments, anger management issues into this environment. Because that's not what you want. Sure. You need calm, rational, level-headed people who are trained to the point. When I talk about reforming training, I'm talking about 2 or 3 times lengthening the amount of training they're doing right now. I'm talking about getting these people into a disciplined units where it's we, not me, where they understand that the community is part of that we, not me equation. It's not all about them. It's about their relationship with the environment. You know what I mean?
I can't remember what it was that I saw, but it was a while ago where they were, I forgot where it was, but they were making sure that the cops that were policing the neighborhood also lived in the neighborhood. And it changed things.
That's an interesting point. What do you think?
Well, right. It's funny. I was going to point out the fact that, even when these riots are happening, some of these neighborhoods, the cops do live in those neighborhoods. And it still escalates. But no, I think you're right. My question again would have been, how are we going to solve this, right? But my question now would be, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen, or is this going to get swept under the rug?
Right?
Is it going to get swept under the rug till the next thing comes on the news?
I know, and we don't want that. We are seeing little baby steps of reform, and I'm happier than not with that. But we obviously want a whole lot more. I think if it was ever going to happen, now would be the time. And I think that we've got a lot of impetus here, and I support, this movement to reform these people. I take exception where it becomes this sort of us versus them, and it's, black and white thinking, and, all the stuff I always rail about. But I think we can do this right.
Look, I think our country is not a dumb country. We're not a stupid country. And I agree that, I think everybody knows that this is a huge problem, especially when you have municipalities that are like saying to the public, hey, we're just going to defund this. That's for even just that one small, in the nation, small community to do that is huge, I think, as well. But again, I just, I hope and we keep pushing forward and making videos like you do every day, putting out information out there that informs people, hey, we have to do something about this, because if we don't, they're going to do something that we probably don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got this momentum, so let's keep pushing it forward. Let's really do this. Let's get a federal level standards program in place. Let's get this training, totally revamped. Comments are coming in are really pretty good. Alex says training in Germany is 3 to 10 years, depending on the position. But not only that, they also, Chris, get much more vacation.
Look at any other country. Any other country, and the amount of shit that goes on is minimal compared to what happens here.
Yeah. I exactly. And I've always looked in awe as an American at the British police who don't carry guns around.
Right.
And I've always been like, what the hell, man? How did they get away with that? Right? and so that kind of thing is like sensible reform might go in that direction, And at the same time, these people better have access to weapons because they pull over bad guys.
Yeah, that's how they
catch
people.
And bad guys do bad things, And you need to have somebody in place. So it's a push-pull. We don't want to go too far in one direction, but we are right now too far in the other direction, the militarized direction, and we need to bring that pendulum back.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's how that's how I see it, man. Cool. Did that help clarify my positions on this?
Absolutely. I always appreciate talking to you. You guys have a good night.
Okay, man. Thanks.
So,
all right.
Flint is letting us know that one person a week dies in police custody in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be, about 10,000 different reasons for that, but I get it. Yeah. About being in the Sea Org. All right, let's take Keith's call here. Hello, Keith.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, man. Welcome to the show.
I'm Melissa.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Melissa. I got a pretty simple question, but first, I just want to say I love your show.
Awesome, thank you.
I love the hell out of it. But you talked about before, like being in the Sea Org, how cutthroat and the atmosphere is, and the snitch culture.
Yep.
I just want to know, like, what's the worst thing you've done to somebody while you was in the Sea Org?
That's a good question. Let me think about that for a second. I'm going to say that I think the worst thing I did was recruit people into the Sea Org. Because that is putting somebody into that life. And I recruited 11 people into the Sea Org. And I'm glad to know that at least half of them got out before I did, not knowing that, they just didn't make it and left. But I don't know about those other 5 or 6. And that's a regret that I have carried around with me for a while.
And how stressful was it being in there? Like knowing that everybody was, looking to snitch on everybody else. I mean, that had to be stressful.
Very, very. It has you watching your back all the time, even with your spouse. There were things I couldn't tell my wife that I was thinking about because I knew she would write me up for it. Your friends always have this filter. So you're always kind of testing the waters with your friends or your spouse a little bit. You're very gently introducing ideas like, boy, that was some briefing tonight, huh? And then it's kind of like this sort of vague, what do you mean by that, right? And maybe they'll say something negative and then you can pile on, right? But you're always looking for that kind of thing. You have to weigh how and what you say. It's hard to describe what it's like to live that way all the time, but that is what it's like.
Yeah, that has to be awful.
Yeah, it sucked.
I mean, did you ever have allies in there, like someone that was like thinking the same as you, like
Yeah, not that way. No, I never did. You'd have relationships you would form with people, friends, spouse. That some things you could talk about. Hey, Flint, thanks for that super chat there. Some things you could talk about and be critical of, and it was okay. Like, my wife and I used to, my ex-wife, right, in the Sea Org, used to bitch and moan all the time about how they had come through one night and taken all of our DVDs out of our room. They went through the entire base, and they took everybody's DVDs. Any movies you had, security now had them. And if you wanted them, you had to go ask for them on your day off, and you could only get 1 or 2, right? This pissed everyone else off. What was that?
What was the purpose for that?
Because somebody was found watching a movie in the middle of the day in their dorm on a little TV player, right? And they weren't supposed to have it, and they certainly weren't supposed to be in their room in the middle of the day. So when that happened, the RTC person ordered the entire base to be gone over and all the DVDs to be gathered up, and they were sloppy about it. They were just gathering them up in trash bags. They didn't care whose were who. And it all ended up down in the basement, and it was up to us to go find our DVDs and, recover them. And this pissed everybody off. So, there was some mumbling about that. But if it ever came to anything about senior executives or especially Miscavige, you never, ever opened your mouth about that.
All right. Well, that's
Well, did that answer your question?
yeah. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for calling. You too. All right.
Wow.
All right. Good. Okay, so we've got 2 more people in the queue. So this is great.
Okay.
This is the best call-in show so far. All right, let's take this one, Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Hey, man.
Hi.
Hi. Good to have you call in. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, just hanging out here in Canada.
Yeah. So you had something happen with a humanist group.
Yes. I was telling you about this, I think, a couple of days ago, Chris.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of an unfortunate incident on Zoom. And again, before I even say anything, of course, because I'll probably post this onto my Facebook page, and there's a friend, friends that I have, and I don't want to name names or anything or be immature about this, but I just had a very odd Zoom chat with 4 people that kind of ganged up on me for saying what I thought was very non-controversial, almost benign things. And it was very strange, and it was a very awkward situation. So I literally just resigned. I had joined. I don't want to say the exact name, but I had joined the organization's board, I guess you could say, in a certain position. And that was like literally the week before. So it's like a brand new member of this particular board with this particular position. And after the conversation, which happened last Friday evening, I just resigned because it just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And basically what it was, and now I want your opinion, okay, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
I trust your opinion, Melissa, the same. I know that you've been in this space, the humanist, sort of atheist, secular space.
Yep.
So,
in fact, let me say real fast that humanist is the only label I've ever been fully comfortable with out of all of them. It's the only one that I would embrace completely and say, yes, I am a humanist. So it's kind of a big deal for me. Yeah. So please proceed.
And humanism has these 2 different functions, right? One is religious and one is secular. Mm-hmm. It started as a religion, it moved to be secular, and then in the Humanist Manifesto 3, there was some kind of cohesion between the 2, because the first manifesto was very religious, the second was way more sort of non-religious, and then they sort of tried to coalesce. So the point I'm trying to make is these are the 2 things that I said. Now, again, if you both disagree with me, we can have a chat about this. Sure. However, this is what I said.
Yeah.
I said, I believe that people choose to believe or not believe in God. It is a choice to some extent. I'm not a believer in free will. I'm not a believer in what's called methodological individualism, like somehow we're all 100% responsible for every decision that we've ever made. But I think that, when you have a choice between what label you're going to use, how you're going to define your own life, etc., maybe that's a little more hippy-dippy individualistic. Maybe that's my libertarian hangover crap that I'm still dealing with. But at the same time, that's just my opinion. Uh-huh. The other thing I said was, if somebody wants to call themselves an agnostic as opposed to an atheist, I don't think that they should be, I don't want to say the word attacked, because that means that every atheist would attack every agnostic, and that's not the right word. But there seems to be a triggering that happens to some people where when they hear the word agnostic, it's very like the anger, especially when I was on this particular Zoom call, that this one person who started yelling at me that I must think that all atheists are unintelligent because I use the term agnostic, which, by the way, I don't. I don't say I'm an atheist or an agnostic like you. I'm a humanist, and I understand that atheism and agnosticism, along with other isms, have a lot to do with humanism. Humanism is a non-theistic, human-driven philosophy. Whether you believe or don't believe in God is usually up to you. And again, with respect to then the religious and the secular parts, you'll find maybe more believers in the religious side and maybe more non-believers in the secular side. But I don't know. Like, you have to tell me, like, is what I just said in any way. What should I have been yelled at? Should have I been laughed at? Should have like these kinds of things that are just sort of inappropriate for what I think are benign things. And the biggest problem is it's 4 adults against myself. And, I'm 37. I'm younger than all of them. Everyone in that Zoom chat was 45 and older, 50 and older, 60, etc. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like, have I done something wrong, Chris? Like, let me know if I've done something wrong. You know what I mean? I will trust your judgment.
Oh, my God, Mark, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. No, dude.
You have your ethics in, friend. I know you do. I know you've done your everything. Yeah, I know you read that book. I read that book too. So yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's your take on it, babe?
It's just an opinion. I don't know why they got so upset about it. And it's like, yeah, people can be agnostic if they want to be. Why does it matter?
There's I've only seen one person who in the group of atheist, ex-religious believer, whatever community, who really would get into other people's business about agnosticism and how agnosticism is the only real thing and the only intellectually honest position and this kind of thing, right? And he, tends to stir this up. He stirs the pot all the time with this. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting hill to die on, I guess. It's not one I feel is important enough to do that about. But he's got a real, keen position to defend with this, and he wants to argue about it. Maybe that guy ran into the guy you ran into, right? Who was all pissed off about agnostics, right? I mean, clearly something triggered this guy, know? I don't know, man. Yeah. Do you know, was it just when you said agnostic?
Yeah. So we were having a film night, and the film that we watched, which is considered an atheist film, which is The Invention of Lying with Ricky Gervais.
Yep.
Which is a fine movie. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. It had, in my opinion, there's a pizza box. I don't want to ruin the movie. There's a pizza box scene I thought was hysterical. But okay, fine. We watched this movie. Movie's over. And I just basically said, like, what about agnostics? And you know how it is over Zoom. You can only, see the person. Like, I'm watching you on my computer right now. You get the one camera angle. Mm-hmm. And the person, like, the whole body language changed. This person got really angry. They sort of stood up in their seat and they were, like, screaming at me. And it's not the first time that had happened either. Usually this person is someone that goes off very easily, shuts people down. And I'm baffled because I don't understand. I get that humanist organizations are volunteer and that there's definitely a sort of aspect to that where the people that go onto these committees and go onto these boards are volunteer and it's a democratic process. But I don't know if that is helping anyone, and I don't think that it's helping people who are trying to become members. No. Because the one thing I've noticed is people really who are without a religion, they want to put a lot of time into their next community. And if that's a secular community, of course they're going to be dying wool because they finally found a group of like-minded people, which can be very hard in not just in a big city like where I'm from, but in a rural area, in a suburb area. So I understand that when someone who is rejected from a church, whatever that church is, or another religious organization, there is an emotional level there that is very hard for some people, I guess, to keep in check. So the idea that they themselves are victims or that they have been victims of some kind of institutional, situation that they didn't have control over, again, but I don't know if it's helping anybody, and I'm very curious as to this concept, Chris. The concept of outpoints that we always used to look at in Scientology, where
basically logical fallacies
that is not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
you can see something like this element of the factory isn't working. It's slowing down production. If we got rid of that element, the conveyor belt would go faster, so to speak. And I'm wondering here too, because I know you're affiliated with an organization in Denver, and I don't know if it's a humanist organization, a skeptics organization, an atheist organization, but there's got to be things that are in place, in my opinion, to make the public relations, and I don't want to sound like my former Scientologist self here, but there's got to be an element of public relations that a committee that is in charge of organizing these groups should be able at least to deal with people that are literally driving people away. And I don't know how, I just don't know how that can happen, because some people don't want the church institutional ideas of somebody does something bad and they have to go through a disciplinary action. It's just a volunteer group. So I'm curious about you, Chris, hypothetical, if somebody did something in the Denver area with your group and that person was very quote unquote out PR, what kind of thing how would that be settled? How do you feel that would be settled in your community, as opposed to keeping sort of people on these boards that are turning people away, or at least making people feel uncomfortable when they express opinions in an atheist particular group?
Well, I can say for the Secular Hub, which is the group that Melissa and I met at, and which is kind of all of the above, everything you just said, right?
It's everything. They let all kinds of groups meet there: the humanists, secular, atheists, all that. So
yeah, and I was on the board for 2 years. So the board had a contentious history. Sometimes there would be rows and disagreements and little battles and drama and all the things that you get in any size group and any size board, really, if things get hot and heavy on certain issues. But never did the board interact with the membership that way.
Right.
And a board matter would be dealt with internally until it was resolved. It wasn't just, and nobody was allowed to just start yelling and screaming and just leave it at that. I mean, that's crazy talk, right? And if that's, I don't know if the dynamics of this group were that this guy's got everybody cowed, or if these guys just silently agree with what this guy's doing and let him be the spokesperson. I'm not sure, and that question actually might be kind of important to how you would deal with that group. But when I got here and got involved with the Secular Hub and then eventually got elected to the board, we never had anything like that come up. It's been a chill group, and contention would be more about the kind of issues we had were the older members didn't like kids running around, and so it was difficult to bring in, new members because the
family stuff.
Yeah, family types, because the old guys were, always, these damn kids, So those were the kind of problems we were solving. So I would deal with that situation. You have, a particular way, I guess, depending on which the situation was, or if it was a different situation entirely. I don't know. I was just presenting two scenarios there. Maybe that's a different one. I don't know. What do you think about what I just said?
No, I think maybe the difference is how nonprofit organizations might be incorporated between the United States and Canada. I think, in my opinion, nothing's going to be done. What they're going to do is they're going to do it the very modest way, which is just to make a statement saying we're going to change and nothing's going to change. And the people that are holding the group back, at least in my opinion, are going to continue to hold the group back, despite the fact that it's moved on to Zoom and there's been a bubble of new membership. But once they go back live, the bubble's going to burst. And I think that people are not going to want to trek out to the downtown area of this particular city, particularly when I'm living in Canada. We have these hard winters, and membership and participation always drop off. And I'm just thinking, is an action part of what goes on? Is it like these people are going to continue to do what they do? My voice is not going to be heard because it's 4 against 1. I have no recourse off the board. And, what do you do? So for me, it's left a bad taste in my mouth. I've told other people, and it's one of those things where I got to go find different groups, which is, Chris, I know from talking about me, I wasn't just in Scientology. Before Scientology and after Scientology, I tried a bunch of different groups. And my biggest problem is sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, exactly. I
Anyway,
tell you,
it's an awful situation. I think it's bad, but yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Let me also just say this real fast: is if I were in your position and I had the availability to do it, I wouldn't cut ties with the group quite yet, because I would probably contact the other 3 or 4 guys who are in the call individually and say, "Hey, what's up with that? You know, like, where are you cool with that? You know?" And I'd find out, because if they're not, you know, and then there's also a matter of looking at the bylaws of the organization, how they're constituted as well. Can, you know, one person be voted out, or is he the chairman, or is there some kind of seniority, or what's going on there? I don't know the answers to those questions. Not particularly important right this second. Just, you know, I might explore that a little bit, or not. You're certainly, you know, you don't need that headache either. So it's kind of your choice on that one. You know.
True.
Yeah, but those are my thoughts about it, man.
Well, yeah, I do appreciate it, and I know we talked a little bit about it, and we'll probably talk a bit again, but appreciate it. Thank you. It's good to meet you, Melissa. I don't think we've met in real life before, so I just always like to say you are a rock and a stone for marrying an ex-Sea Org member, and you know it, and Chris knows it, and we all know it, and we all appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, man. All right, talk to you soon, man.
And I want to say thanks to Ike too. For
That's nothing against you, Chris, but you know, nothing against you, Chris, but you do know that organization in the Sea Org.
Of course, of course. All right, talk to you, man. All right.
Thanks so much. Have a good one, Chris.
All right, cool. Yes, very much so. Ike, you are awesome, and Melissa appreciates that very much. All right, let me take this call here from Stanley. He said he's got something quick here. Stanley, hey, you're on air. What's up, man?
Yes. Hello, Chris Shelton. This is my first time calling in. Just wanted to say I think you're doing an awesome job giving a platform to people who've been in a toxic cult.
Thank you.
My experience with the toxic cult was with the LDS Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. For me, I didn't really experience like what Scientologists go through, the fair gaming or RPF or anything. For me, it was just I got bullied, and it was just awkward. So they kind of kicked me out. That was like their way of kicking me out. But for me, like my anger was because I was lied to. They had like the exact opposite, like saying they're all about friends and family and tolerance and acceptance, but it's like the exact opposite. It's only like if they get what they want.
Right.
And then they don't even, they try to keep it like on the down low, and they have their public relations like saying the exact opposite. Like, no, we're not about that. We're like about acceptance and everything. And it's like they have the sense to know to not say it because that would make them look bad.
Right.
So they just lie to everybody and just say like, you know, that they're all about peace and love and everything. It's like, it's just totally, it just kind of gets under my skin, but I've learned to just get past it. I just wanted to share that.
Totally, man. I get it. And I get how upsetting it is because I used to feel that way all the time about the duplicity in Scientology too. Because it's, you know, same. It's always smiles. Everything's great. And it's exhausting, you know, because it's not that way. It's not nice. It's not great, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I hear you, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you and Melissa keep doing an awesome job, and I really enjoy your podcast and everything.
That's cool.
And I'm the guy that's been sharing. I'm the guy that's been direct messaging you on Facebook, sharing those videos with you. So just so you know,
I got that from your name. Thanks, Stanley. I figured it was you.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
All right.
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks for calling. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, and let's see here. What do we got? Oh, yeah, 7cam. How could I have forgotten? We got all these great calls. Let me take we got one person in the queue. We will get to you in a moment, but we need to 7cam. Hello, there is 7 the Wonder Cat. One day I will get that trending on Twitter. Hashtag 7 the Wonder Cat. So there he is in all his glory right now. That is him sitting out there. We only seem to get it to work that we can get him on camera when he doesn't quite know he's on camera. Which is why we had to kind of set that up separately from bringing him in here or any of that, because he just goes crazy balls whenever we try to do that. So
Yeah.
all right. So that was that's our live cam on 7. We might check back in with him in a little bit. That's good. Thanks for reminding me of that. All right. So let's see what we got in the queue here. It says Haitian Michael wanted to know if Melissa was in the church. Hello. You are on air.
Hello, Mr. Chris. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We finally decided to log in, and of course, my gut instinct was I'll take the movie tickets or request a song, but I'm not going to do that to you.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
So, there's a question that it dawned on me when we were first watching, and my family's watching you right now. I don't think of all the time that you and I have spent talking, I never asked you about how you approached Melissa or how you guys got together. Like, for instance, my story where it actually got worse after I married my wife. Like, for instance, if I would have met her and said, by the way, the next 13 years is going to be very expensive and mentally pure hell, I don't know if I would have got the last 13 years.
Right.
So when you guys first got together, how did you hit it off, or was there a previous experience, Melissa, or how did you just basically say, hey, here's what I'm coming out of, and the road may be rocky? Does that make sense?
I want you to take this one.
Let me think about that. Yeah, I think I saw that Chris was really working on himself, and he was doing his best, and I think that impressed me, that he was able to get out of the cult and work on himself, and he wasn't, I mean, it affects him, sure, and I see that sometimes, but it's not like overwhelming or anything like that either. So,
Yeah, we met at the Secular Hub.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Yeah, and then but we only were sort of friendly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had a little bit more time to kind of chill and stuff. I think it was about a year,
almost
or
like
so
6
after we
months or
first
something.
met, maybe. And then what happened? Oh yeah, then a mutual friend. We went out one night with a mutual friend who was doing open mic stand-up comedy, and so we were hanging. We were drinking, we were watching comedy, and we were having this great time. And I was like, hey, you want to go out? And she's like, well, I'm just looking for friends. And I was like, okay, we can be friends. And that lasted for a couple of weeks, and then we weren't friends anymore.
and then it was Netflix and chill?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how that went.
Okay, well, awesome. Yeah, I've always wondered, because, things could get worse. And as I've told you, personally several times, that I have seen growth in you, and some of the other people that we're all associated with have said, wow, have you seen Chris grow, and have you seen him, come into the light or come out of the light, whichever direction you want to look at it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you seem like the road has been fairly smooth for you. And please take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I present a good front. I got good PR. Because it's been rough. There have definitely been some rough times, but yeah, it's been a steady progress. It's kind of, actually, I guess kind of in a way, it's like my subscriber count. Like it just kind of steadily goes up. But it's, it's a very steady, you learn it's a marathon, not a sprint. You learn that it's not about, it's about slow and steady wins the race. And that's been a valuable lesson.
Do you feel that your venting on social media has helped edge that?
Sometimes. Yes, sometimes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. When I get agreement. And then the biggest thing was learning to get over needing the agreement. And that was the hardest part for me. And I'm still working on that, but it's way better I already know that in myself because I, introspect on this stuff. That's been the struggle. Is
Awesome.
coming
we
into
may
my
be
own.
we may be planning a trip relatively soon to Broomfield. We will give you advance warning. I think I owe you dinner at this point.
Awesome. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
All right. We will talk soon. And thank you, Melissa, for keeping him upright.
Aw, you're welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Bye.
All right. And those are the calls in the queue right
All
now.
right.
If you want to call in, our number is 984-214-4154. And there were a couple questions people left for us. Like I said, I'm not trying to do a Q&A show, but sometimes people very fancy equipment. Yes. It's I finally got up to graduating to some fancy equipment. What is that?
Oh, I like the idea of this. He said, this person says, I wish you had a It's Chaos Be Kind shirt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks for that. Yes, I need to see if I can make one. I don't know if that's a copyrighted thing or not.
Yeah, you have to find out if
I tattooed
Oswald
it.
has it on trademark or something.
I'll check that because that is my motto in life, man. That is absolutely my motto. And I forget it sometimes and I always regret it, but it's words to live by. Okay, let's see here. Going all right. Yep. Okay, so a couple other things I guess that we kind of got into the demilitarizing the police a little bit. I just want to say I'm a little concerned about that in that not the demilitarizing the police part. That's the part I want. The part I'm a little concerned about is how much we're going to have to militarize if this defunding thing goes too far.
Yeah.
So that's when you hear this sort of well, I guess, kind of hesitation in my voice. That's a little bit why. It's gun sales are up right now.
Which is a little scary.
Yeah, and they're up because I think people on all sides of this equation are perusing gun stores right now. And when you start talking about, taking and dismantling police stations and stuff, I can understand why that would be a reaction. It's a reaction I had. I was like, whoa, maybe we need to relook at this, Anyway, so that's a fun topic. But it was something I wanted to comment on because I thought, that I don't necessarily say enough about all of that sometimes. Oh, yes, Michael Jackson's reminding us about our favorite lectures and lecturers. Now, Michael, thank you for being there to clarify this question that you put up there at the beginning. Favorite lectures from L. Ron Hubbard, or when you say lecturers, like anybody at all? Because my first answer would be Carl Sagan. I love listening to that man talk.
Yeah.
Let's see, though. Favorite lecturers. Because I also have very much enjoyed listening to some of Seth Andrews' talks.
Oh, yeah.
And listening to his voice is like listening to liquid honey. That guy has got this
great
radio voice. Oh, it is just, it's so smooth. And then, I like Sam Harris's voice too, because he's always so calm and steady.
Nice, calm voice, yeah.
But as far as content goes, actually, now that I'm sort of chewing through this question and thinking about this a little bit more, I would actually say that probably one of my favorite lecturers to listen to who actually taught me more than I think any other single person about stuff I really wanted to know about is Robert Sapolsky. And I listened to his Stanford University online lecture series on human behavioral biology. And holy shit, was that an education. It was not easy to get through those lectures. He goes deep on a few things in terms of biology and genetics and stuff and evolution. But holy cow, was that an education. I mean, my whole worldview was different after listening to all of those and watching him break it all down and, all the levels of why we act the way we do. It was really good stuff. So yeah, so favorite lecture topics, neuroscience, psychology, human behavioral biology, I think. evolutionary biology. I mean, Sapolsky covered all these topics. It's hard for me to choose in terms of which one of those was a favorite.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really like listening to Noam Chomsky. I don't know. He's really smart, and I really like what he has to say. I don't, not everything he says is 100%, but it's just he's so smart and he sees the world in a way that a lot of people don't. So it's interesting. I like a lot of TED Talks. I think one of my favorites, I think his name was Andrew Solomon, when he talked about depression in 2 different TED Talks, and they were both amazing. Well, see, now my brain's going blank. I love listening to like film lectures and stuff like that, like people from film about film. But I love listening to stuff about like biology and the human brain. I like listening to stuff about the human brain.
Yeah. It's complicated behavior. Stuff.
Yeah.
It's complicated stuff, but very enlightening stuff, And I really enjoyed, it's not really lectures, but I'll just kind of throw it out there because it was so good and so informative. And since we're kind of talking about that, the Neil deGrasse Tyson version of Cosmos.
Yes, that's beautiful.
That was a great show. I really liked that. I really learned a lot from it. Oh, yeah. We'll check out that Harvard Justice Debate series. Cool. Yeah, I think I will like that. Anna is asking, what do you think of morgue? I don't know what morgue is. Do you know what morgue is? You know what she's referring to there?
Not sure. Is this something I should know because I listened to Noam Chomsky?
I don't know. just threw that out there. Yeah, not sure. And Matt also makes a good point in the comments that defunding the police is not the only reason to look into buying firearms, because there's also the idea that there are rioters and looters and stuff out there, and that is true. Which kind of falls under the same umbrella of home defense, self-protection kind of thing. So, but yeah, for sure. I hope that is, I hope we're seeing a down curve on that activity, by the way, the rioting and looting and stuff. I never thought that was, part of the protest or even an appropriate part of it. Yeah, anyway, so, all right. Well, I think, nice. Hannah Arendt, college book lectures on YouTube. All right. Oh, any Feynman lecture is good. Yeah, that's for sure. All right.
Oh, Mork and Mindy. Is that what?
It said morgue.
Yeah.
Oh, Morg and Mindy?
Mork and Mindy?
Mork and Mindy?
Show?
The show? I don't know.
It's been a very long time.
I remember when it was on. It was good when it was on. Thank you very much for that super chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ballmass Dankass. I had to say that out loud. That's where we got the super chat from.
Nice.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think we're going to move toward wrapping up. I wanted to remind everybody about the message at the top of the hour, though, in terms of humanism and let's be excellent to each other. And let's remember that it is a little chaotic out there. And let's try to, think twice, act once, whatever that old saying is, because these are the times when all those mantras and manners and things about remembering that we're all human and we're all struggling, these are the times when remembering that actually matters. It's not just a nice thing to do. It's a necessary thing to do for us to be able to get along. So I'll throw that out there.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up the show for this week.
All right.
All right, guys. We will see you next week, this same hour, and look forward to hearing from you. There were some great calls this week. I actually really enjoyed that. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and end.
All right. Good night, everybody.